So just with the success your team's had so far, what are the things that maybe you're keeping a close eye on here to make sure they sustain it? I know you always kind of look for the things that can get you beat eventually. What are those things right now?
Just trying to stay connected defensively more than anything. Just knowing where we're supposed to be, starting in the right spot. I know that's kind of a profound statement, but I always say if, you start right, you have a better chance to end right. But if you start in the wrong place, you're at a disadvantage right away, all off of concentration, nothing more. Like sometimes people, whether they break you down off the dribble or they run good action, put you behind a play. Now you got to, do your best to recover, from that. But if you just start in the wrong place, you're not paying attention, now you're just, you're putting a burden on the defense. So I would say that more than anything, just knowing where we're supposed to be, knowing what we're supposed to be doing, and then communicate and talk and stay connected.
They seem like they've done a pretty good job with that type of stuff thus far.
They have,
right?
Yeah, they have for the most part. In comparison, they've done a really good job from last year. I think that's the one thing. Each one of our guys, I think, are better at that. And that's kind of it's part of growth is just understanding what's going on and being able to apply it.
Does Hofstra do anything that could be problematic for you?
Well, they have very good guards. Across the board, they have good players, but they have a lot of guys that can break you down. They have a lead guard in Estrada that's a very good player, can score, can set up his teammates. Thomas is a guy that can put up, 25, points on a given night, can really shoot the basketball. So, it's going to be a challenge for us. We're going to have to do a good job of getting into them, not giving them space, but also keeping them in front of them. And that's easier said than done because Estrada's really got that thing on a string. Thomas can shoot with people on him and can make tough shots. So just like anything else, knowing our assignments, staying connected, trying to stay out of rotation so we keep good rebound balance.
Will you have Mason in practice today?
No.
Any idea when he might return to practice?
No.
You don't have to rush him back, right? You got good players at his position here.
We do have good players. So that's makes really helps out the coaching part of it when you have good players. So, but no, he doesn't. From just kind of watching him walk and everything, I don't think he'll play in the game almost.
Do you worry about this being a natural letdown game coming back from the Big Ten and Portland?
I think in a normal situation, yes, but after watching film and watching how good they are, from a player standpoint, players respect other guys that can play. And, you show clips on these guys, it's pretty impressive. They have a good team, they're well coached. So right as they kind of saw that yesterday on film, I think a lot of antennas went up in our room like, hey man, these guys can really go. So, but you do worry about that. It's a good question.
Anything unique about Hofstra compared to what you've faced this season?
I wouldn't say unique. I just say they have guys that can make individual plays. They have guys that can set up their teammates, but also make those individual plays. Like sometimes you play people and you just hey, stick with this guy, make him dribble. Don't let this guy catch and shoot. The reverse of all that, and then just stick with that. But they got guys that can do both. They can do multiple things, whether they got intermediate game or getting all the way to the basket or shooting threes. They have a lot of skill. They have a lot of athleticism, a lot of interchangeable pieces.
When you're coaching Edie on the drop coverage, when they shoot a floater, he has the option to either try and go for a block or go for the box out.
Right.
What have you been coaching him to do in that situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You try to play it like it's 2-on-2, more than anything. You don't want the 5 to get behind, 5X. And so with that being said, you're going to have help if that guy does get behind him. So sometimes he's too deep. So we want to start up high and then go to the drop coverage. But sometimes he gets into help, ball screens happen later. So we don't like for him, even if he's deep, to come up at that time, just to level it off. And we'd rather live with him shooting that floater or shooting that runner. If it gets deep, we'll veer off or we'll switch that and he'll just take that guard and then the guard will go take that big if it gets relatively deep. The one thing you don't want to do is if he is at that kind of in between 12 to 18 feet and he shoots that basketball at that time, you want him to go back and box out. If not, you challenge it and you don't get it, Now you got their center trying, with one of our guards trying to box him out. So even on misses, it's a productive play for the offense. So we'll go back. Sometimes he'll go back when the shot is like pretty close to the rim. And once it kind of gets past that 10 to 12 feet, you got to lock into the ball. But the guard also has to see that and veer off or switch off and go back to that big at that time. So,
Do you think your guards have been doing a good job making that decision?
well, it's really not their decision as much as it is where he starts and how he drops. We watch film, we get things figured out in terms of like whatever, but it is their responsibility to get back in that play, especially when you see them get those tough floaters or those tough twos. That's their contest. They got to stay into the ball. The guy has somewhat of an angle, right? Because you're in drop coverage. You're really inviting a floater or a pull-up. You want that tough two over that layup or that rhythm three from the guy coming behind the play. That's why if the 5 drops and the 5 can't get by 5X drops and 5 can't get behind him, now that guy can stay with that shooter out there. So you're eliminating the dunk, you're eliminating the open 3, and then you're forcing a contested tough 2. So from a percentage and analytics standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. But you will get certain teams that will make those. Like in the second half, I thought Minnesota made some really tough shots. That's where you got to be able to live with it, because you don't know if they can continue to make those. And then you'll have games, like kind of outlier games, where like people will make them and you got to kind of live with them. The one thing you don't want to do is open Pandora's box and they're getting the threes, they're getting the dunks, and they're getting that, right? You want to say, hey, no open rhythm threes, no dunks and layups, no fouls, and then let's contest those tough twos.
When you first saw Fletcher in recruiting, what was your impression of his basketball personality?
The first thing we thought was how confident he came off in himself. I think that's something that gets lost sometimes in evaluation, is you have a false bravado about yourself. Like guys want to talk, guys want to put up 3 goggles, guys want to say something to somebody after they hit a shot and all that kind of stuff. Then there's guys that just flat out believe in themselves and it doesn't matter. He was one of those guys. Sure, he's got a good skill set and he can handle the basketball, he knows how to play, but he just seemed really confident when I saw him play.
Zach Edey gets a lot of talk for being big. How much of a leader is he for the team?
Well, I think he leads by example more than anything, just because of his work ethic. He gets in a lot of work before and after practice. He has a routine to what he's doing. Most great players have a routine to what they're doing to get themselves ready to practice, to get themselves ready to play. So I think that's where he has led in the game. You see he's not just some guy who's playing basketball because he's big. Like he knows what he's doing. He plays hard. He's competitive, and I think anytime you're doing things by example, you're a leader.
Hey, Coach, with tomorrow night being Elf Night, what do you think about Caleb Furst's acting skills?
I don't know if it's acting. He looks like a natural to me. So, no, he was really good. I saw the latest one with Mike Bobinski, so I thought that was really cool. But no, it's he's got a future in basketball and he's got a future in acting.
Are you familiar with the movie Elf?
I am.
What's your favorite line from the movie?
I don't know my favorite line. It was, well, now obviously I got biased because I was in the one part with him in the window, so that would be my favorite one.
All right, perfect.
All right.